It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. And now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is showtime, Geno Jones Showtime. So I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. You got that? 6. Watch me live in Chicago, 5:30 p.m. or Houston or St. Louis, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, out in Los Angeles, up in San Francisco, up in Portland, Seattle. It is 3:30 p.m. and out in Hawaii, chilling, kicking it in Maui, you lucky devil. It is 1:30 p.m. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. You, and especially you and everybody you know. You, soldier boy, you! All right, please, everybody you know, subscribe. Shout out to everybody already in my chat room. Brewmaster Dre, what's happening? I appreciate everyone watching me live. Thank you for just hanging out with me. Just a little bit on CP time. You know, got a lot going on. Live TV show, media company, studio. We got pets and got a family. Life happens. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let me jump it off. Let me start off saluting and shouting out my Sagittariuses. My mom's a Sagittarius. Her birthday's in 16 days. But today, R&B singer and actor. He plays Andre. So for everybody that's a fan of Power, the TV show on Stars, 50 Cent's show, Andre was Ghost, you know, the brother Ghost, the character Ghost. So Andre was like his protege. Rotimi is 34 today. Bo Jackson, Vincent Edward Bo Jackson, one of the greatest, outside of myself, one of the greatest athletes in the history of mankind. Football, actually a baseball and football legend, the only man to be an all-star in the major leagues, a Major League Baseball all-star, and an NFL all-star. And had he not wrecked his hip completely, it's like his hip exploded in a game when the Raiders, now in Las Vegas, were in Los Angeles, and one of my guests is a diehard. He is probably more a Raider fan than Al Davis' son, and that's saying a hell of a lot. So Bo Jackson is 60 today. Bo knows, and remember the legend. Well, let's put it this way: if you're like over 40, like really 45, 50 plus, you remember the Bo knows. It was like a marketing campaign with Nike, and a legendary guitar player, bluesman, Bo Diddley, and Bo Jackson. Bo knows, and Bo knew everything in the commercial. So anyway, and happy heavenly birthday to Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman elected to the United States Congress. She represented New York, and that happened in 1968. Just black people in general, but a black woman in Congress. Shirley Chisholm is a legend and an icon. She was the first black person, man or woman, first African American to run for president as a Democrat way back in 1972. So before Jesse Jackson, who's a native of this state right here, I'm in South Carolina. Before Brother Al Sharpton, who repped New York City. Before President Barack Hussein Obama. Black women were representing, even though she didn't win, she still won. Shirley Chisholm, happy heavenly birthday, born on this day in 1924. That means she would have been 98 today. Speaking of birthdays, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The 40th anniversary of the greatest album of all time. The greatest selling album of all time. From the GOAT, the true GOAT of GOATs. The undisputed. To hell with the king of pop. He's the king, along with me. But he's the king of music. I am talking about Michael Jackson. Thriller was released on this day, November 30th, 1982. 37 weeks at number 1 from February 26th of 1983 to April 14th of 1984. 7, count them, 7 singles released. Started off with kind of like lukewarm, kind of weak ass. It wasn't that, I listened to it now, it wasn't that bad. But back in then, it was like, Mike, come on, I know you're going to do better than this. The Girl Is Mine with Paul McCartney. The girl is mine. No, Michael, she wants me. No, Paul, she wants me. As a matter of fact, I've been knocking that back out. You just didn't know about it. She said you coming up short if you know what I'm saying. The myth is real about the brothers. No, could you imagine Michael Jackson saying, hey, you never know. Ask Debbie Rowe. I'm just saying, I don't know. He got 3 kids. Something was going on. So The Girl Is Mine. Then the song that really changed the game. And it was a relatively low-budget video. But back then, not so much. Michael Jackson, he had this bad-ass leather suit. It was like kind of quilted. The leather jacket, it was like short sleeves, and his leather pants, I guess they would call them, one of my guests, she'll help me with this, capri pants, AKA, they were like high water floods, purposely, not because he couldn't afford to buy pants. That was his style, so he could show off his blinging white socks. Billie Jean, he was walking. Every time he took a step and he stepped on the tile lit up. The kid is not my son. Billie Jean is not my lover. That heifer is a lie. The devil is a lie, and so is Billie Jean. And the truth ain't in her at all. Then on Valentine's Day of 1983, of all days, Just Beat It, Just Beat It, with the legendary guitar solo from legendary rock guitar player Eddie Van Halen. The video, which was leading up to something that was really about to pop off, it was like a tribute to the movie West Side Story, and they had the little scene where they were doing the whole little thing like in the West Side Story with the knives and the whole nine. And Michael and the dancers tied their wrists together. So Billie Jean. Then, May 8th, 12 days before my birthday, 1983, one of the baddest, funkiest, just dance records or whatever you want to call it in the history. A shout out to the motherland. Mama say, mama sa, mama kusa. Mama say, mama sa, mama kusa. Want to be starting something. Yes, then Human Nature on July 3rd, the day before the 4th of July, 1983, came Human Nature. Then September 19th, for all the pretty young things, for all y'all fine-ass women. PYT, you pretty young thing. A song, the name came from Quincy Jones's wife's panties. She had a pair of panties. I guess that was a brand called Pretty Young Thing, PYT. Literally, true story. I couldn't make this up. That's where the title for PYT, Pretty Young Thing, I guess, panties, young, whatever. So, that's Quincy, do you. Then, this is when the game really changed. On November 5th, right after Halloween. Thriller, the title tune to the album. And then we're going to talk about this movie, short film, produced by John Landis, the guy that did Ghostbusters. It changed the game. It changed the way videos were no longer videos. People were doing these movies, short films, and the sales for Thriller exploded. Because they peaked and they was waiting, and then Thriller hit, and it was over. It was a wrap, over. It was selling 1 million copies a week right after that video came out. Total, 34 million copies sold in the United States, 70 million worldwide. Outside of the United States, over 100 million. As Austin Powers would say, no, Dr. Evil, 100 million albums. 8 Grammys. 1984, Album of the Year, Record of the Year for Beat It, cost $750,000 at the time in 1982 to make that album. That was a lot of money. That was $750,000. But trust me, Epic Records, really Columbia, Epic was just a label under the Columbia Records umbrella, made that money and still making money off of that. So that was a pretty damn good investment. My guest, my number one guest, co-host you see on a regular basis, media personality, media star, TV, radio, entrepreneur, professor, number one on your program, number one in my heart, Kelia Karson, and one of the hottest producers on the planet. Up next, don't be surprised when you see Producer of the Year. y'all got to at least nominate the brother. I think he got a good chance of winning. Sean Dolby. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. I want to welcome my panel to the show. There you see Black Woman Magic, the lovely Miss Kelia Karson, got the melanated magic working there, and Sean Dolby, always hard at work. Look at him, Kelia. Look, he got his head right there.
I'm actually.
You producing another? Hey, Sean, you producing another masterpiece?
As light as you take it, I was actually in here working on something.
Yeah. All right. So I'll tell you what. So I did a lead in. So I want to get you all's initial take, and you can just take your take. You can take it anywhere you want. Sean, I want ladies first because my mother's watching, and you know I was raised with manners.
Of course,
but I know, Kelia, you got a pretty interesting story because we were talking about, and Sean, you and I also talked about it off camera. Thriller, not just the album. The album changed music because it just basically, you know, for a long time. And shout out to Lizzo because she said that she talked about, which is historically accurate, that way back in the day they didn't want the black artists on the pop translation white music charts. So they came up with it was called race music. Then they went from race music charts to R&B charts. And Lizzo, just a couple of weeks ago, somebody interviewed her and she was talking about the award she won on the American Music Awards. She was talking about how the record industry and the music industry segregates music in these categories purposely. But when because there were some great songs that should have crossed over, because music is music. And if you got good music, everybody, and Thriller proved that. It didn't matter, you know, your ethnicity, it don't matter what color you were, it didn't matter your sexual orientation. Hell, your ass could have been an alien from outer space. Thriller, there was something on Thriller that you was jamming to. So Michael really changed the game and really opened up the door with so many R&B, then hip-hop artists. It became popular music. Now, if you look at any pop chart, hell, more than half the damn chart is R&B or black artists. So, and then when it came to the video, I'm gonna let Kelia and Sean talk about it because Kelia, I know you have a pretty interesting story about how you were the designated video editor or video technician to make sure your mama wanted to make sure that you recorded because I guess there was a lot there was a lot of hype about this movie. Thriller wasn't. By the way, MTV. I don't know if you all knew this. MTV actually paid for the production of that video, Thriller. And you've got an interesting story, Key. How your mama wanted to make sure that you got this on videotape.
Okay, so let me tell you a story. So, my mom worked in PR, worked in cable. She was a part of the MTV before it was MTV. I had one of the first MTV buttons. So that's how involved in public relations and media my mother was. So I'm just giving you that for context. So going back to Thriller, we always had the albums as soon as they dropped because I loved music, and that's, I guess, why I ended up in radio. But mom brings home the Thriller album and we start playing it. Now, you have to keep in mind that albums, you named how the songs were dropped in terms of the public. I am talking about how they were mastered. Okay. And so as far as mastering goes and porpoising, as we call in radio, where you're looking for that flow, Wanna Be Starting Something is what you started out with on that album. Okay. And so we were all in. By the time 2 songs down, because I think Thriller is the 3rd song.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. We're like, okay, maybe we'll skip over this. Okay. And
okay,
then,
let me jump in.
No, I'm sorry. The Girl Is Mine.
Okay, yeah, because I talked about that because that was the first single. That was the first single.
Yeah, but I ain't talking about singles. I'm talking
about the whole album. Yeah,
right. Because that's what you did back in the day.
Yes.
You listened to the album. So The Girl Is Mine is number 3. Thriller is number 4. Beat It, Billie Jean, all of that. I'm like, there's a lot of pop here. Okay. And then we pick up with Human Nature, PYT, and the Lady of My Life, right?
Yes.
So we skipped, well, we listened to, but we skipped a whole chunk at times. But we're dancing. We're having a good time to Thriller because overall, I mean, if you've got 4 or 5 songs on an album that's hitting, you're golden.
Yeah.
So we weren't mad. This is okay after Off the Wall, but it's just okay for us because Off the Wall will be and remains my Michael Jackson. But anyway, pushing forward after Motown 25, then the world said, woo, what is this album? And then they started playing, really started playing these songs on the radio because it wasn't, I mean, not a lot of airplay when I was younger, when Thriller first came out, right? So then this talk about this video for Thriller, and we were like, Thriller, that crazy song? So my mom said, okay, y'all, it's gonna be a big video. So we had a Betamax machine, we had VHS machine or VCR, as they would call it. And she said, Nakila, look, she said, as soon as this video, right before the video started, you hit play and record because, back then you had to hit the play and the record. It was like clunk, clunk, you had to engage. She invited everybody over to the house. And I was like, what is the big deal with this video? But I was young. I had no concept. That video started. I made sure I hit that play record. Everybody's in the house. And, in our culture, that it was chicken and drinking.
So it was like a Super Bowl party, a viewing party.
For sure. My mother said, listen, you better remember tonight. And everybody was like, oh, Hattie, shut up, girl. It's not that deep. But everybody came anyway because they knew if my mama said something, it must be kind of true. And we had TV on in the basement and upstairs.
Wow.
Adults were upstairs, kids were in the basement. I had to monitor the record. And by the way, I recorded on the Beta and on the VHS machine. And when that was done, we were like, what just happened here? I mean, it was a family event. I will never forget the moment. I said, oh, this is a movie. I mean, the whole beginning, when him and
Ola Ray, yeah.
Ola Ray are at the theater and all of that. And it was like, what? Videos, by the way, are still quite new to us. And so to have that take place, I said, wow. And so that's what made me respect and like Thriller because it was a concept.
Yes.
Because initially just hearing it, I was like, I'm not into singing about ghosts and goblins and it's after midnight and something evil's lurking in the dark.
Vincent Price, evil lurks in the hearts of man.
Right. That's not singable. That's not love. So, but in the context, when you look at what Michael and the producers,
John
the directors, right, Landis and Quincy, when you look at the full picture, you get the majesty of Thriller. And now I'll send it over to Mr. Dolby.
So Sean, because Kelia mentioned something earlier, and I want to kind of go back to what I think, and I think you'll agree, is how we got Thriller. Really the origins of Thriller began way back in 1979 with Off the Wall. They sold 10 million copies. Now, in 1979, nobody, hell, Billy Joel wasn't even selling, you name Bruce Springs, nobody, the Beatles weren't selling 10 million copies of an album with no videos, no Facebook, no Twitter, no TikTok, no Instagram, no MTV, not in 79. And it still sold 10 million copies and didn't get like 1 Grammy. So I want to just real quick, Sean Dolby, tell you The album of the year, 1979. And no shade on dude. He's from New York. He's not bad. I know you like him. Billy Joel had an album called 52nd Street.
Absolutely. I remember. I still got it.
Album of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Record of the year. Good song. Doobie Brothers. What a Fool Believes. Now, the other nominees for the album of the year, Bad Girls, one of my favorite party songs of ever. So I love Bad Girls, Down the Summer, Hot Stuff was on there, and I got it. Spring Affair. The Gambler, Kenny Rogers. Minute by Minute, the Doobie Brothers, which were just some white dudes doing R&B with Michael McDonald. Cool, black folks, we loved them, still dig them. And you had this group, rock group, Super Tramp, Breakfast in America. None of them. So
Geno,
10 million.
allow me to stop you right there, Geno. 1979, you called out some very familiar names. Doobie Brothers, particularly. Let me go to the Doobie Brothers when we're talking about Thriller, because there's six degrees of separation when it comes to the Doobie Brothers. The big records that were written, which was What a Fool Believes, Minute by Minute, the big records off that album by the Doobie Brothers were written by a dude named Rod Temperton.
Were they?
Yes.
Oh.
Rod Temperton was a very big influence and a very big writer when it came to Off the Wall.
Yes.
Now, and Rod Temperton worked very closely with Quincy. I personally believe, and I may be the only one in America, but actually no, because Kayla kind of touched on it. When I was doing radio, when Thriller came out, I remember the single, The Girl Is Mine. I'm like, what the hell? But then I noticed, I said
the same thing. I think all black folks said the same thing. I don't know about his white fans, but sisters and brothers was like,
well,
come on, Mike, I know you're going to do better than this.
I knew instantly this was a record label thing. They were saving the best.
Yes.
Let's milk this thing.
Which was smart. And they had Paul McCartney, so it got
Michael
that crossover appeal.
Epic always did that with Michael. Because keep in mind now, when Bad came along, I Just Can't Stop Loving You with Shahida Garrett.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the hell? But I said, let's just wait. It's like an iPhone. Don't buy the first one. The second and third one, they're gonna fix the problem, and it's gonna blow up. So I remember, and I'm a firm believer in Off the Wall, because Off the Wall was an R&B album.
Yes, it was pure R&B.
Just like Michael Jackson's, what was it, Invincible, that had butterflies?
Yes.
That was an R&B album. It didn't do the big commercial thing. I really truly
10 million copies is pretty damn commercial. But I know what you're saying. It wouldn't market it.
Sales
CBS dropped the ball. They didn't market it that way.
Sales and commercial marketing are totally different. Because you got cats who made whack-ass albums and sold. Prince.
Yes.
Prince, there was a whole 9 albums that we just, we're going to buy because it's a collector's album. A collector's item. You know.
Raspberry Beret.
Thank you. So Thriller to me only had, I'm with Kayla on this. When Thriller came out, it only had I Want to Be Starting Something. It had PYT and Billie Jean.
Well, Lady of My Life is, look, it's a whole
and Human Nature. Human Nature grew on me. It was the pop record that grew on me.
Lady of My Life is one of the great R&B ballads. Trust me. It was it was some conceiving going on.
But keep in mind, everybody praised Quincy. Quincy was never a big pop, quote unquote, pop dude. Even when he did It's My Party in the 50s, when he did his first pop record, he didn't want to do it, but he had to be relevant in that realm so people could know who he was. From a production standpoint, some of the best musicians, you had Louis Johnson from the Brothers Johnson. You had Patty Austin doing background. You had Shahida Garrett. Some of Quincy's best people were on
James Ingram. And James Ingram wrote something on Thriller. I forgot but he was writing.
And it was from production standpoint, the record was great. But the big thing about Thriller, and I thought about this when you called me about it, when I really think about it, I can't stand Thriller
So,
compared to Off the Wall. You know what I
I'm with you,
loved about.
Sean.
Thank you. What I loved about Thriller, it was the timing.
And
MTV,
it was, well, here's my
like she
take real
said,
quick.
she had a house party for the video. When MTV first came on, I remember the Buggles came on. The very first video was "Video Killed the Radio Star." My mom and daddy never let no. I went to private school and I lived in a hood. That was the only time that weekend MTV came on. Mama allowed me to have some of my hood friends over, and we were watching everything from Van Halen to the Rolling Stones and enjoying it because we could see it. So it was the timing with
Right.
Thriller.
Well, let me jump.
When the Rick James Super Friends came, Super Freak video came out, it was the time MTV made Thriller.
Well, here, let me stop you there real quick, because I know
wait a minute,
we don't have
Geno,
too much time, but I want you all to get in on this.
But we gotta add that Rick James fought for Thriller to be played.
Well,
Damn
hold on.
right.
Let me
Absolutely.
I know, but let me tell you the story, and I know you all know the story. So at the time, CBS Records, the president was this old, short, heavyset Jewish guy named Walter Yetnikoff.
Absolutely.
He was the president of CBS Columbia Records. Epic Records was one of the many labels that was in the CBS Records family. When MTV first came on, they were not playing any black artists. No R&B, no even R&B to have pop appeal. So it got to the point to where Walter Yetnikoff had a conversation with the heads of MTV. I know this guy named Bob Pittman, who used to do radio in Chicago at WMAQ, launched MTV. So Walter Yetnikoff said, listen, if you don't play Michael Jackson, I'm going to need you to run back Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, Journey, any white artist that you are playing the video of. If you don't play Michael Jackson, you don't play nothing off our label. And then all of a sudden, you saw Billie Jean. And yes, Rick James publicly lobbied for Mike because Mike was just so hot. But it was Walter Yetnikoff who had the juice and said, listen, what you gonna do? Mike or nothing? And MTV was like, okay.
Well, Geno, you also got to look at the fact from the business, from the aspect of what you're just talking about. If there was not lobbying for Billie Jean, Video Soul never would have been as big as it was.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's be honest now, because the artists they were trying that they felt could have made it, like the Cameos, the Anita Bakers, Sade, Michael opened the door for Sade. Sade really was an MTV act. To this day, I don't understand how Sade she was just so smooth that she crossed over like that. But I was a Donnie Simpson guy.
We all love Donnie. Shout out to Donnie
so
Simpson.
So the importance of Thriller, looking back at it 40 years, has nothing to do with me with music production, and it has to do with the business of the marketing of music production. Because I'm telling you, Video Soul came out and we was able to have an anti MTV.
Yes, we had our own channel. Yeah.
Because think about it, some of the best black producers, James Intume, would have never been on MTV. So the business of Thriller is important to me. The album itself was kind of whack.
Yeah.
What did you say? What did you say was kind of whack?
The album.
The album itself was kind of whack.
Well, see, here's the thing. Now,
I believe Quincy thought so because he only did one more with Mike.
Well,
that's right.
So let me share this
real. It was the perfect storm.
Yeah.
Yes, Key. Yes, and so thank you, Keela. You set me up. Let me piggyback on that real quick. We got about 7 minutes. So first of all, they didn't know what they had. Michael, Quincy, because I did a lot of research over the weekend. They really didn't know. Actually, funny quick story. CBS or Epic, they didn't want Quincy to produce for Michael period. They didn't want him to produce Off the Wall. But after 10 million copies, they was like, okay, well, all right, Mike, what you want? Michael was like, Quincy, Nobody else. I mean, Quincy had other folks that would help produce. Rod Temperton, Stevie did a song. Well, Stevie did a song on Off the Wall, but it was Quincy and Michael that did the whole production thing. But this is what I want to say about the impact of Thriller in terms of how it changed the music industry in so many ways, and we talked about it a lot. But one was, not only did Michael open the door for so many other artists, not just on MTV, but on your pop, quote unquote, top 40 white radio stations was playing, because right after you had Rick James and Prince. Because I firmly believe, I want to get you all stake real quick, the reason we got Prince, and all three of us know Prince was pretty, he was competitive. Some folks would say he was jealous of Michael, petty, whatever. But Prince didn't want to be outdone, because Prince was a genius in his own right. Thriller was an inspiration for Prince. He's like, well, hell, if Michael can do a film, hell, I'm going to do a full-length feature film, movie, and the soundtrack, Purple Rain.
Yeah.
I agree with you. But musically, I don't think Prince gave two damns. Because when you think about it, Prince did the album Dirty Mind. That was getting FM urban AC radio play. Okay.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Nothing on Dirty Mind or Controversy that is urban AC. Go back to Geno, you're in radio now.
Oh, I remember. Listen, I remember Soft and Wet, the first album when he had the afro before the perm.
Soft and Wet was the only funk record on that.
And then Prince followed the Prince album with the perm hair.
Yeah.
Dirty Mind, Head, all that. Come on.
Yes.
But they were played on FM radio. That was the groundbreaking record. Michael's Thriller, again, it was timing. And if it was not MTV,
it was timing, and it was this. Real quick, and I'll get you all's final thoughts, because it was intentional. And doing this research, I learned that, because really, Michael was pissed off that Thriller got ignored. There's a story that Michael told his mom that, you know what, I'm going to make an album. They'll definitely have to recognize me after this. So Michael was intentional. He wanted to have a song that was going to appeal to like all formats. So there was a strategy. That's why you had the Beat It. You had Eddie Van Halen playing the guitar. You had the funky R&B. And to me, still, Billie Jean is one of the greatest bass lines in the history of music. It's simple.
Absolutely.
It's a simple, but that doom, 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 that's still one. No, I'm surprised, Sean Dolby, I'm surprised more artists haven't sampled Billie Jean. You would never find a better, you find something, maybe it's good, comparable, no bass line greater to me than, because it's just boom, 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 boom. So there was a strategy in terms of, okay, we're going to check every box. And then the whole, let's do, the hell with a video, we're going to do a movie. After Thriller, after that video that Kelia recorded when her mama had the viewing party, she had the ghetto the viewing party. There was a Super Bowl party before they were doing that. After that video came out, that album Thriller sold 1 million copies a week for probably half the year.
But stop there for a minute, Geno. After that album, after Bad, we had a big dip in video media coverage on urban music until Diddy came back and put the $1 million back in the videos with Biggie, with Hypnotize. Now, where is it at now? You see what I'm saying?
Well, we need Mike. It was
timing. It was timing. It was like artists were forced to have to make these crossover poppy records when all the time. Imagine if there were full videos for Off the Wall, other than the little cheap graphic video for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. Imagine if there was full produced videos for Off the Wall.
I agree, Sean.
I believe Off the Wall would sell more now than Thriller ever did.
Well, absolutely.
It was not presented right.
I just want to say before we go, my summation. I absolutely agree, Sean, that if Off the Wall had videos, that it would be a different game, and we would not be having this conversation.
We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
So let me ask you all this real quick. Let me ask you all this, because listen, for me, and I've said this publicly, on certain days I could flip a coin. Off the Wall, Thriller, pure R&B. Off the Wall is about as good as you're gonna get, but Thriller is just something special. But this is the pushback I want to give to you all. Pop radio, pop fans, would they have embraced Off the Wall the way they did Thriller? Because Thriller was strategic in terms of, we're like, okay, we're going to get some folks who don't even listen to R&B. We got y'all ass. We got the little the teenage white girl song, The Girl Is Mine with Paul McCartney.
You just answered your question, Geno.
Yeah, you answered it.
Because,
No.
okay, think back to the 60s. James Brown had to put a white woman on his album cover to sell records.
Well, a lot of labels, they wouldn't even put a black artist, they wouldn't put their picture on the cover.
So suppose that there were poppy style videos for the songs off the Wall.
And Motown in my hometown was designed on the crossover.
Yes, it was. Good point, Key. Yes.
The company opened its doors and said, "Don't come in here unless you can cross over."
Key, I got not to cut you off, Key. I got a perfect example for you. Justin Timberlake's video for "Don't Stop the Feeling" is the way that "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough" should have been produced.
Exactly.
Disney, kids, the whole thing. So there's nothing that Timberlake did. Timberlake's entire video choreography and his entire thing was off the wall.
It sure was. And I'll say one last time for the audience, if you don't understand what we just said, it was perfect timing, but the majesty of it is that it opened up doors on that MTV platform where you can visually see our people and the music, and for that, you have our praise, Michael Jackson.
Yes, Kelia Karson, where can everyone follow you? What you're doing, social media platform?
Always K Karson or Kelia Karson on all platforms.
Sean Dolby, we need to run it back next week because I know you are producing a lot of hit records. But let everybody know where they can follow you, or if you need a hit record, or if you're looking for the next Quincy Jones, Dr. Dre, Teddy Riley, you see him on screen. Where can they follow you on social media, Sean Dolby?
The main page right now is the DJ Sean Dolby page. I'm doing I'm experimenting with Southern Soul and Blues music. Every Sunday, I do heat up the turntables and mix the best of Southern Soul and Blues. But I'm in the current process right now, actually as we speak, of doing a track for Teddy Riley singer legend, Big Bub. I'm about to try to revive Big Bub from the group today.
I love it. Congratulations. I'm about to lose you all's live shot. I love both of y'all. Y'all are family. You know that. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate this. This was a big show for me because Michael Jackson is my dude. So thank you. That's Kelia Karson. That's Sean Dolby. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you, and especially you. And God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. Subscribe, share, like, and binge watch all my back episodes. Please share this episode with everybody you know. Copy the link, copy and paste it. Tag it to your social media page. Screen grab, screen record some of the content, some of the conversation. This is for those who maybe under 40, like 30 and under. You really didn't know what's the big deal about Thriller. Well, we tried to make sure that we educated you and did it in a funny, humorous, but educational, informative way. So, because Thriller, there may never, ever, 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 ever be an album quite like Thriller in terms of the impact and how it just completely shifted and changed the music game and the music industry. Shout out to Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram. He is the CEO of Designer Cuts in Goose Creek, South Carolina. That's part of the Charleston, South Carolina Metro. You can check him, keep your boy fresh. Kel be cutting up. KELBECUTTINUP. Allie Jones. Allie Jones is the drip director, as I like to call her. Drip is your fashion, your fit, your gear, your style. fashion designer, fashion design major, Columbia College, Chicago, the official wardrobe consultant and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. She's on Instagram, LX.NCL_ that little dash at the bottom. L like Lexi, X like extra, .N like Nanette, C like Charlie, L like Lexi _. And Bruce Gage, also official wardrobe consultant, stylist, Mario Uomo. Check him out, Miglio D Mario Uomo on Instagram. That's Miglio D, MIGILIODIMARIOUOMO, Miglio D Mario Uomo. Shout out to everybody watching me live. Shout out to Groove Master Dre. Hello, mother. How are you? I hope you're feeling great. She had a little bug. I went to see her. Damaris and myself, we drove home and we went to see her for their Thanksgiving weekend. Got to see my baby sister. Shout out to my baby sister, Angela Chambers Jones, and my niece, Perry Brittany, Chris, my nephew, Chris, and Jeshua, and I love all you all. So, and I want to shout out everybody. Some great conversation in the chat room. If you're watching me live, or if you're watching me like on demand, if you were just, binge watching at your convenience. You're not watching me live, but you're watching me when it's live for you. You can leave me a comment right here on the Geno Jones Show YouTube channel. Or if you watch it live, please join the conversation. Jump in the chat room. I'd love to have you. The next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be tomorrow, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, as always, please be blessed. Pray for peace. And I love you. I really do. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.